To receive instant notification each time I upload, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification.
Helping you along the way. Helping you to make it through another day. Yeah. Everything you need to know that you never knew, that you need to know. Lockhart Perspective.
Well, hello, and good afternoon to each and every one of you. I'm very happy to be with you here today. And the reason why is because we've got a few follow ups to some stories that I did not cover originally because they just didn't seem right to me. I needed to figure out exactly what was going on. And I had done a lot of searching and searching. And as most of you may already know, some of the story that I'm about to tell you about has already come to fruition. And the FDA, as well as the FBI, has now found out that the applesauce that was full of lead, that it was actually done intentionally, according to the FDA. Now the FBI is involved, and we'll sort of read together and figure out exactly what else is going on with that story. But we're also going to look at the lab-grown meat that Italy has said, no thanks, we don't want it. No go. They absolutely said no. Their parliament said no. And I think that's a pretty good thing. Now, I want you guys to tell me what you think, because I know that there are a lot of farmers there, and the majority of the farmers were the ones who were complaining. And then I think that they just felt like, gee whiz, you know what? We don't want anything that says, vegan meat. We don't want anything that says that it's not real. And so that's part of what they did. They decided to say no to all of that. One of the things that we're going to look at today is the fact that we do have some oysters. And then a lot of that stuff is coming from overseas, Canada, and a few other places. But what I want to ask you guys before we even get into this is, how do you feel about us having so many recalls? Do you believe that these recalls were things that we always had, but because of the presence of the internet, now we know? Or do you think that there's something more nefarious afoot? For instance, the situation that we have with Wanabana, Schnucks, and Weiss with the lead with the children's applesauce. I don't know. Something tells me that it could be a combination of both, but I do want to ask you to see exactly what you think about it. I want to welcome all of you guys, and I will look at your comments, and I will acknowledge all of the super chats at another point in the show, but I sort of want to get right into this right now. Let's go on ahead and let's look at the first story, because I find it to be a little concerning, a lot more than a little. And that is the Wanabana and the Schnucks and all of that being on purpose, which is very, very concerning to me. Let's go. All right. So according to this, what they're saying is the children who ate the cinnamon applesauce, the puree, as well as the applesauce in the pouches that was manufactured, and they're being very careful to say that those children who ate that was manufactured here in America. So what it says, manufactured by 3 American brands, were reportedly sickened by the contents, and the US FDA, or the Food and Drug Administration, believes that the contamination was actually intentional. Back in October, the Federal Bureau of Investigation reported the first adverse events from the affected pouches in children as young as 1 year old. Since that time, the federal agency has launched an inspection at a plant out in Ecuador where the cinnamon flavored applesauce was produced. 3 companies in question, which is the Wanabana Company, Schnucks, and Weiss, all of which produced apple fruit puree products for children. The 3 of the brand's products were sold nationwide at popular food chains or grocers, as well as the Dollar Tree, and online through Amazon. Here is what someone from the FDA, Jim Jones, commented and said. He said, "We're still in the midst of our investigation," commented Jim Jones of the FDA. He is the Deputy Commissioner for Human Foods. He continues with, "But so far, all of the signals that we're getting to and is that it's an intentional act on the part of someone in the food supply chain." And he says, "We're trying to figure that out." According to Jones, the ongoing investigation has already led investigators to conclude that adulteration of the apple puree products with what appears to be lead may have been an intentional act. Now, that's a quote. Here's another quote. "My instinct is that they didn't think this product was going to end up in a country with a robust, get this, regulatory process. They thought it was going to end up in places that did not have the ability to detect something like this," he says. Now, it says, was the children's applesauce lead contamination intentional? Here we go. It's another portion of it. The latest update from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention includes a total of 125 cases from 22 states that involve children who consumed the contaminated products in question and got sick from them. The FDA says that it believes the intentional contamination with the lead was economically motivated, meaning the companies involved allowed or even added lead on purpose to boost the profits in some way, or perhaps to salvage otherwise contaminated products that should have been tossed. It goes on to say that the FDA can confirm that one of the theories the agency is exploring is the potential that the cinnamon contamination occurred as a possible result of economically motivated adulteration. When asked why the FDA allows contaminated products like this even enter into the United States in the first place, Jones explained that intentional adulteration cases such as this are always going to be tricky, okay, to absolutely stop. Now, I want to pause here because if you remember, I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, we uploaded a story here dealing with the fact that that the Biden administration had not reversed the tariff on the country of China, right? So in other words, they allowed it to stand where they would not have to deal with any tariffs. They could just go on ahead and continue to ship things like breast pumps and things of that nature as you know, business continues. But the deal is that it's also for food products. Here's the question. What do you guys think about the fact that we are, like we said at the beginning, taking all of the food from all these other countries when we have such a robust, or had such a robust, abundance of different things, seafood and stuff like that. Let me glance over here back on you all side because I'm not on your side right now. I'm over here. Oh, okay. Hey, Daryl. Okay. No likes track Deborah Johnson's alter ego. Hi. Glass bead game. Oh, hello, the Jesus Freak. You're so welcome, Tonette. Hello to you. And Alicia Crawford. Hello. How was it intentional with 3 different companies? Were the companies owned by one entity? You know, I'm going to tell you something. I'm glad that you think like I do because it may be out there that somebody else can find it, but I literally looked to find out who was behind everything. And it takes me to a dead end when I start fishing around. Now, one thing I'll say is you never know. We may find that out, but let's continue to read here so that we can see this web that's being constructed for us. And the reason why I said that it's a web that's being constructed is because as you look at it, you will find that they're even going into what I consider setting up a story because it's giving you it was economically done. But if you don't know who did it, and if you don't know when it was done, how do we actually know that it was economical? In other words, you're saying that it could have been economical because possibly in order for them to make bigger sales, maybe it had to be heavier. And I'm just using an example here. This is not anything that is a fact. I'm using everything as an example. So in other words, what you're saying allegedly, we'll use it like that, is that they needed money. They needed more money. And the only way for them to make sure that they could sell more was to make it heavier. But if you don't know who it is and you don't know what their true motivation was, how can you even speculate? And to our friend's point here, three different companies, were they all done in the same place? Could be. We'll find together what it is. And then you and I know that, whenever I pull the stories, I may get the gist of the story, but I read it with you for the first time. So with that said, we won't know until we get to the bottom of it. But it does seem to be a big question as to why we're seeing so many of these companies, and now the FDA and the FBI are involved. So I don't know. If you guys have the ability to share this out, please do so. And then please hit the like button, because that helps us a great deal, bring more people to the channel that are already subscribed. All right. All right. Thanks. So now let's get back over here where we are talking about this particular portion. Now, let's read back. When asked why the FDA allows contaminated products like this to enter into the United States in the first place, Jones explained that intentional adulteration cases such as this are always going to be tricky to absolutely stop, close quote. It goes on to say that, quote, we have limited authority over foreign ingredient suppliers that do not directly ship the product to the United States because their food undergoes further manufacturing processing prior to export. The other FDA spokesperson is quoted as saying this. Okay, so if that's the case, then you don't have any control over that either. You can't just stop them from doing whatever else and make them come in and make them go through you. Do you see what I'm saying? How about just let's not have them do it at all? Now, according to the CDC, it says there is no safe blood lead level. There is no safe blood lead level for young children. The agency uses a marker of 3.5 micrograms per deciliter, mcg/dl, as an identifier threshold for children deemed to have elevated blood levels. November 13th of 2023, the CDC revealed the results of an investigation it conducted, which found that 22 children who consumed the lead-contaminated applesauce had blood levels as high as 29 mcg over DL, which is substantially higher than the CDC's marker of 3.5. It goes on to say that lead is toxic to humans, and exposure at any age or health status can lead to serious symptoms, reported the Epoch Times. Let me cough here, you guys. Hold on just a second. Thank you kindly, babies. Thank you kindly. So now that was according to what was reported from the Epoch Times. That's in adults. Now, high blood levels can increase their risk of high blood pressure, other cardiovascular effects, kidney problems, adverse reproduction outcomes, and gout. The quote continues with short-term exposure to lead could result in headaches, abdominal pain, colic, vomiting, and anemia, while longer-term exposure could result in irritability, lethargy, fatigue, muscle aches, or muscle prickling, burning, constipation, difficulty concentrating, muscular weakness, tremor, and weight loss. Now, here's the thing. Here in our country, while we're dealing with all of these, haven't you at one point or another had at least one of those symptoms? And sometimes if you've gone to the doctor already and they've listed that symptom as a problem with this particular issue in your body, you'll sometimes just think it's attributed to that. But don't you know that there are a lot of things that we're consuming on a daily basis, a lot of things that can give us some of these symptoms, and most of us don't even know. So that's that. Now, let's go on to another story that we're looking at. And I want to say kudos to Italy for however long it lasts. Kudos to Italy. Today, we're going to look at the Italian Parliament. Italy's Parliament approved the ban on lab-grown food amid tensions. Now, this was going on since the top of the year. where they were saying, you know what, we don't want this here. We don't want any of this stuff. Keep it out of our country. And there's a few other places that have said the same thing, but our focus right now is going to be on Italy. So let me come over here and pull this down for you guys so we can present the new story so that way you can see it in its totality. Okay. That way you can see it. I'm going to share the screen with you and give you, I think I like this story first, and then we're going to look at the other one. All right. All right. So this story is dated today. Okay. So it says Italy. Let me make it a little larger. I hope you guys can see this. Okay, can you see that? Yeah, I think you can. No, don't think you can, but it's okay. At least you'll have all the links down below to get it, to get a good grip of it. On December 27, 2023, it says Italy is the first country to ban cultivated meat, the kind grown in laboratory bioreactors from stem cells, under a new law that has been put into effect last month, which was November. Lab-grown meat cannot be produced or marketed in Italy. The country's agricultural minister says that Italy was proud to impose a ban like this. Which country might be second on the list? Okay, it's not set in stone, but many other countries are allowing and even encouraging the technology to be developed. Singapore is the only country where its people are currently eating cell-based meat. I don't know about that because we got some stuff out here that the FDA just went ahead and said, okay, just do it, and then we don't even know what it is. You get this big glob of what looks like a steak or a roast, and it's all stuck to something that looks like a muscle, but it ain't. Ugh. So you just decide, let's just have a big salad for supper and some sweet potatoes that's baked with a little butter and a little sugar and cinnamon. That's what we'll eat. But nonetheless, it goes, which country might be second on the list isn't set in stone. Many other countries are allowing and even encouraging the technology to be developed. Singapore is the only country where its people are currently eating cell-based meat. The U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Food and Drug Administration have approved 2 kinds of cell-based chicken for human consumption. Boy, we just do anything, right? We get a bunch of lobbyists and they just line up and say, here, just take this. Now, y'all don't got to eat it because we're not eating it, but give it to the people. They'll buy anything. Nonetheless, it says for regulators in most countries, the BBC says the top issue is food safety. Now, Italy's ban grows out of concern that it may be of more interest to America's farmers. The country is unashamedly trying to protect its food traditions and farmers. I like that personally. I like that. I like to see a country stand up for its citizenry and for the companies that live there, for the companies that stay there and employ people there. I love to see a country take up for its own. Now, don't you know we used to be that way? We used to be that way. We used to be a country that was so concerned about our own. We even had at one point, and again, here's the funny thing. I know a lot of people will say, well, that wasn't even real. They were just saying that. Again, before internet days, what I understood was we were very happy. We even had little slogans, made in the USA, homegrown or whatever. And now, don't you feel that right now it's like everybody is a little, they're anti-American. Even people who were once patriots are now just don't want to talk about it. Oh, this or that. But I think that if more countries were like this, especially our country, that we would find ourselves getting back on our feet a little bit better. I think because when you get that unified mindset, maybe it's just my naivete. I don't know, but that's just how I feel. Anyway, you guys let me know what you think down below in the comments. Okay. So now let's take a look at it from another article that we have. And let's see, here's another article because I want you guys to get a couple of ideas or a couple of different views of the same story. All right, so Italy's parliament. Now this was from November, so this was good because this is when they first did it. Make it a little smaller because I know it looks so large, but I was trying to make sure that we didn't have all the ads flashing. All right, so it says Rome on November 16th. Italy's lower house of parliament gave final approval for a law banning the use of laboratory-produced food and animal feed on Thursday as angry farmers confronted a group of centrist lawmakers opposed to the bill. The proposal, already approved by the Upper House Senate, passed 159 votes to 53 against prohibiting the use and sale and import as well as export of the food and feed from cell cultures or tissue derived from vertebrate animals. Don't you love the way that says vertebrate animals? Because as you may or may not remember here, we covered on Headlines with the Boys about maybe 4 or 5 months ago where some of those cells were coming from, the HeLa cells, and they were making meat. And if you can remember what the HeLa cells are, well, if you can't remember, I don't think you need to be trying none of this meat. But if you can remember, you remember, and I'm not going to add anything else to that. I'm going to leave that right there. But look up the HeLa cells because that's what America is using in part with a couple of other things. Again, they only started out with chicken, so they say, but I believe that they probably got some beef and some lamb and some other things going off. All right. So anyway, it goes on to say that factories breaching such rules can be subject to fines of up to 150,000 euros, which is equivalent to 162,700 of our dollars. And they're also at risk of being shut down while the owners may lose their right to obtain public funding for up to 3 years. So they're giving them some really strong consequences to choosing to go opposite of this. Now, the proposal of the agricultural minister, Francisco Lollobrigida, a close aide to the prime minister, Giorgiano Meloni, is seen as a part of a broader bid by the rightist coalition to safeguard the tradition. As the debate in Parliament was underway, tensions erupted between the demonstrators from the agricultural lobby group, which is Coldretti, and two opposition lawmakers, one of whom claimed the president of the lobby group, Ettore Prandini, had assaulted him. So here they are going back and forth. But really, who cares? You know what I mean? They're going back and forth. They're arguing. They're going into the whole, he hit me. He knocked the stuff off my shoulders first. Anyway, it goes on to say, I believe that it is subversive that the president of Coldretti believes that he can assault a lawmaker Benedetto Della Vedova said, adding that he would report him to the police. Who cares? The point is, you guys are mad because they decided they don't want none of your stuff. None of your junk. That's the problem. That story's over. Now, a couple of stories that we really need to get into because a lot of people eat a lot of seafood at the top of the year. I know that in my culture, being from Louisiana and Mississippi, you got a lot of people that's about to get into some gumbo, baby. A lot of them about to get into some gumbo. And let me tell you something. A lot of folks like to eat oysters. They like to have shrimp. They like to put crab legs in a nice seafood gumbo. But here, the FDA and the CDC are saying, please leave the oysters alone. Now, you from the areas like I'm from, you shuck oysters. You know what I'm saying? You take the oysters and you shuck them, drop them back, get your little hot sauce, Tabasco, whatever you're going to do. What the FDA is saying is right now, don't do that because there is a huge recall, and they don't want anybody eating any of these oysters. So let's get into this story, especially as we look right now into this time of the year. All right, because a lot of people usually do cook with oysters. All righty, here we go. This is directly from the FDA's page. So I thought that it would be better for us to bring it directly from there because there's a lot of other stories that we could get, but let's just find out exactly what they're talking about. So the FDA advises restaurants and retailers not to serve or sell and consumers not to eat certain oysters from British Columbia, Canada. Listen, potentially contaminated with, guess what? Is it the same thing that we've been hearing? No, it is Campylobacter jejuni. All right, who knew? All right. It says that restaurants and food retailers in Utah and Wisconsin that have recently purchased Pacific Oyster Fanny Bay oysters harvested on November 8, 2023 from Harvest Area, British Columbia 14-8, land file, they even got that, 1402294, and oyster Malaspina live oysters harvested on November the 9th, 2023 from Harvest Area, British Columbia 148 landfill is hashtag 278761. Consumers in Utah and Wisconsin who have recently purchased Pacific oysters and the Fanny Bay oysters harvested on those dates, all right, they're telling you, leave it alone. What's the product? Let's just be redundant, Felicia. The oysters from Pacific Oyster Fanny Bay harvested on the dates that we've already listed, harvested in the areas that they've mentioned, which was in this case, Utah and Wisconsin. Here's the purpose of the whole conversation. The FDA is advising the restaurants and food retailers not to serve or sell and to dispose of the oysters and consumers not to eat them if they come from the Pacific Oyster Fanny Bay and they were harvested on the dates, right? Why? Well, because they may be contaminated with Campylobacter jejuni. Now, I looked up Campylobacter jejuni, and we're going to have to look it up together because I want you guys to be aware of what it is, because not all of us walk around knowing exactly what all this stuff is. So we're going to go ahead and make sure I've got the tab open for that so that I can then go into it with you guys, because I want you to know what it is. Because you know what? There's something new every single day. All right? There's something new every single day. So now what it says is with the Campylobacter jejuni, oysters contaminated with it can cause illnesses if they're eaten raw. Remember what I was just saying? We used to use, because I don't eat any shellfish anymore, but we used to use the lemon and then the Tabasco, and then you throw them back, and then you throw back some beer, and then you have a good time. That was for us a party at the time. All right. So anyway, they're saying that if you're eating them raw, there is a potentially life-threatening illness in people with compromised immune systems. And don't you know the preponderance of Americans right now have a compromised immune system, much to my chagrin and others? It says food containing the Campylobacter jejuni may look, smell, and taste normal. So baby, that means you really got to be cognizant of the dates, and you have to be cognizant of the location that your oysters come from. Why? Because if you don't smell it, and it don't smell bad, if it, you know what, it's like a bad date. She smelled okay, the guy said to himself. She looked all right. I don't know why I've got to go to the doctor now. Hey, we all adults here. Keep it under wraps and follow what I'm saying. Just because something looks, smell, and tastes good don't necessarily mean that it's not contaminated. And that's the problem with this particular piece of what we're looking at, that this particular Campylobacter jejuni will not allow you to smell it. It's going to pass the look, the smell, and the taste test. Just be cognizant of those dates that I've already read out. And then once this is published, please go down below in the description and pull the link. Give it about maybe 20 minutes before we're done, and we'll upload the actual places that you can go get this. But you guys just heard me say it was FDA, so I'm just going over there and jam on it. All right, so it says that it does not smell, doesn't look bad, and it tastes normal. Consumers of these products who are experiencing symptoms of illness should contact their healthcare provider and report their symptoms to their local health department. I don't even want to go into how come a lot of that is not necessarily something that can be done, because I don't know the, here it looks like it's about to tell us, because I was about to say, how long is it after you've had an encounter with this particular infection or this disease or this bacteria? How long is it after, you're going to be able to go and tell somebody that you think it was from that? Well, here's the answer. Symptoms of the Campylobacter jejuni. Where do these names come from, for the love of Christ? All right. People with the infection usually have diarrhea, often bloody, fever and stomach cramps, nausea and vomiting may accompany the diarrhea. These symptoms usually start 2 to 5 days after the person ingests Campylobacter and lasts about 1 week. Sometimes the infections cause complications such as irritable bowel syndrome, temporary paralysis, and arthritis. You guys, haven't you noticed that we've done a couple of stories just recently where every one of these things go into the arthritis family? Have you noticed that? I've noticed that just recently. Now, this particular article from the FDA goes on to say that in people with weakened immune systems, such as those with blood disorders, with AIDS, or receiving chemotherapy, Campylobacter occasionally spreads to the bloodstream and causes a life-threatening infection. So Don't want to tell you how to live your life, but you just might want to leave shellfish alone. You just might. They are like the porta potty of the sea, as it were. I mean, they go and they scrub and they eat and everything. I'm not telling you how to eat. I'm just saying that in this case, knowing that this is out there, maybe you just don't want to buy it at all because you can't smell it, you can't taste it, and you can't, it's nothing that's going to come up right in your face and say, hey, this is bad. Now, it goes on to say that the summary of the problem and the scope on December 18th, 2023. The Utah Shellfish Authority notified the FDA of two cases of the Campylobacter connected to consumption of oysters that came in from British Columbia, Canada. The FDA has notified the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, or the CFIA, of the illnesses, and the CFIA is investigating. The two cases, excuse me, the two cases consumed oysters in Utah and Wisconsin, and the FDA is coordinating with the CFIA and state authorities to determine if any additional distribution occurred. Well, we know that it did, because you're not going to say we just have two cases and in this large area and just two people ate it. No, if there's a infection that's present, of course, you have more people than just those two individuals who, displayed illnesses who got sick. So people really, really, if you're in those areas and you know somebody who maybe a few, at this point, 5, 6 days ago, maybe a little bit more, or they got sick, have them go get themselves checked out. And here's why. Because a lot of those types of diseases that hide in joints and do stuff like that, that may not come up now. I know what they're saying about the 2 to something days. This is just my opinion. I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving you any advice. But what I'm saying is sometimes you can eat some things like that, and some things can go dormant. You can get an illness that goes dormant. I mean, you might be able to get sick today from it, but then after you're sick, it goes into the bones and it's just sitting in there. You've been sick, it's already gone, but now that bacteria is still living in you, is what I'm trying to say. That's the reason why when people fast, they have these sicknesses. They get sick and they thinking, oh, I got to go back and fill my body full of trash. No, what's happening is the trash that's in your body is coming out. And so that's why they say drink a lot of water during the fast so that it pushes all the toxins out. That's my point. That's more of what I'm saying than the opposite to what you hear me talking about, right? So now it says that the actions is that the FDA is issuing this alert, advising restaurants and food retailers not to serve or sell, and consumers not to eat those oysters, again from Pacific Oyster Fanny Bay, harvested on November 11, 2023, from the harvest area, British Columbia 14.8, with the land file 1402294, and oysters Malaspina live. All right, harvested on November 11th, 2023. This is last month. Okay, you got 2 pagan holidays ago. Okay, and probably a couple others that I don't know anything about, right? So you got 2 pagan holidays ago that they're telling you about this. Nonetheless, let's continue. There is, because of the potential of the Campylobacter, the FDA is waiting further for further information from Canada on distribution of the oysters, meaning we got to wait until we figure out exactly where they sent them all. And do they have to comply? We would hope that they would, but do they have to? Never know. So this is what's going on with the actual oysters. The restaurants and the retailers should be aware of the shellfish, that it may be a source of pathogens, and should control the potential for cross-contamination of food processing equipment. And they should follow the following steps. And we all know about the washing of the hands, making sure that the processed packaging area for the contaminated products, or make sure that you clean your area, all this good stuff. We already know this, but again, this will be down below in the description. Now, there are some other things that I wanted to show you guys. Looks like that tab, I misplaced it. Oh, here we go. No, we want to go to the CDC, because what we want to do right now is we want to find out what is Campylobacter, Campylobacteriosis. Let's find out together. You know what? I know we all bless our food and we all make sure that, but I'm telling you guys, some of this stuff, you heard the question that I asked in the very beginning. Ooh, don't forget to hit the like button. I know some of us might have already come in just now. hit that like button so more people can come in. Here you see a lot of us are eating and a lot of us are living and a lot of us are, saying grace as we call it over our food, and all of that is good. But you know what, you guys, sometimes I just think some of this stuff just is making a lot of money off of this. So there's a lot of people making a lot of money off of this stuff. Huh. Let's see. When it says more, is it going to take us all the way into the story? Will it keep us there? What is the infection? This is good. So the Campylobacter infection or campylobacteriosis is caused by the Campylobacter bacteria. And it's the most common bacterial cause of diarrheal illnesses in the United States. The Foodborne Disease Active Surveillance Network indicates that about 20 cases are diagnosed each and every year. Wait a minute, baby. 20 cases are diagnosed each year for every 100,000 people. Many, many more cases go undiagnosed and unreported, and we already know why. The CDC estimates that the infection affects 1.5 million people in the United States, the residents every year. Most cases are not recognized as a part of the outbreak, and more cases occur in the summer than in the winter. Remember what we talked about when we said that the reason why some of these cases are not a part of the outbreak is because of the fact that there's a specific window, and then individuals would have had to have known that a product was out there that could have been bad so they can add their names to the quote unquote list. So there has to be the window. The window has to be determined from X to X date. And then the individual who has eaten the food has to even have the inclination that it was that particular item that they ate. Why? Because it can go from 2 days, from 1 hour to a week before you start to get sick. This is the reason why I believe that there are far more people out there that are sick based on a recall than not. I think that people have gotten ill and they've not known that it was because of something that they ate, only because of the window of time. Now, it goes on to say that what are the symptoms? Well, people with the infection, usually, we've already talked about this, how they have the stomach cramps and the diarrhea, and they have more complications that people have, the compromised immune systems. How does the food and water get contaminated with it? I think that's a very good question to ask, and let's see what the answer is. The Campylobacter can contaminate food and water in several ways. Many chickens and turkeys and cows and other animals that show no signs of illness carry the Campylobacter. Campylobacter can be carried in the intestines, the liver, and other organs of the animals, and it can be transferred from other edible parts when the animal is slaughtered. So in other words, if they cut one part, the infection can go to another part. All right. In 2015, the National Antimicrobial Resistance Monitoring System, or the NARMS testing, found that it was on 24% of raw chicken bought from retailers. Milk can become contaminated when the cow has it and her udder, or when the milk is contaminated with manure. Pasteurization makes milk safe to drink. Fruits and vegetables can be contaminated through contact of soil or water containing feces from cows, birds, or other animals. From cows. Where does the manure come from that they use on, do they use the manure just on their yards? When you have that real bad smell at the top of spring, can somebody tell me, what do they use the stinky manure for? I'm going to come back over on your side and see the answer. Can somebody give me the answer? What is that stinky? Is it just for the grass, for the lawn? Or what do they do? Do they actually use the composting for their fruits and veggies? You take eat a mango, you put it in the composting thing, you eat a banana, put it in there. So is that specifically for the fruits and vegetables? I'm asking this because I'm trying to understand, other than the obvious, how fruits and vegetables can be contaminated with it. You hire a lot of people, you don't give them a bathroom, and the only place that they get to go is on your tomatoes. That's part of this, I would imagine. But somebody put the answer for me in there. And when I come back over there on that side, I'm going to read it as well as any super chats. I'm not ignoring anybody. I'm just trying to get as much of the good stuff in. So when I get on the other side, I will read your super chats if you put any in there. Now, animal feces can contaminate lakes and streams. Washing or scrubbing your fruits and vegetables and disinfecting untreated drinking water helps prevent illness. Mm. How do people get infected with it? Well, it takes very few Campylobacter bacteria to make somebody sick. A single drop of juice from a raw chicken can contain enough bacteria to infect someone. Most Campylobacter infections are probably acquired by eating raw or undercooked poultry or eating something that touched it. The Campylobacter are also transmitted by other foods, including seafood, meat, and produce, by contact with animals, and by drinking untreated water. Okay, so we get it. This is what's happening right now. All right, this is what's going on. I'm getting out of here right this second. I'm going to pull out of here because here's what I want to ask. Aren't we becoming more like a third world country now? Because I see us with our water contaminated, and there was a water story that I need to do, but I'm not sure if I should do it here. Let's see. All right. Susan Donahue, didn't you just win? And I've been looking for you. I've been looking for you because I've got something for you, and I keep going looking for your address and all that. Anyway. Huh. Daryl, I'm not going to start playing with you today. Um, so what I'm trying to say is that I believe that a lot of times right now, especially, we're getting so many people that are coming in here that the immigration piece of it, and then everybody coming over, and then people moving from one state to the next. You got a lot of individuals who are sick and they're ill, and a lot of those people are coming here to the United States. And in tandem with us already having our issues and having our guard way down, because to me, anytime a country has this type of food issue going on, your guard is down. Why it's down is not my place to even suggest right now. But what I will say is when you have so many people coming in and you already have a fractured infrastructure that says our Food and Drug Administration is not necessarily able to keep up with all of the illnesses and with all of the bloodborne pathogens or foodborne illnesses, they're not able to keep up with it. They're depending upon the protocol that they have in place to try to get them make them privy to the information that they need to make sure that they're putting it out there for people who need to be healthy. All right. They want people to be healthy. And so they're trying to keep up with things the best that they can. But don't you feel a little bit like some of these things could be avoided? And do you believe that some of these things are going on simply because we are not protecting our borders? I don't know. I could be wrong. There could be absolutely nothing. They could have nothing to do with one another. And again, I'm just stimulating our conversation so that we can find out, how is this happening? Who's cooking the food? Who's mining the food? Why is it that a few years ago, we started with this total onslaught? Okay. You did? I did not know that you did, darling. Go to info@FeliciaLockhart.com. Okay, info@FeliciaLockhart.com. Send that to me today, darling, because I have a gift for you. Thank you for letting me call. So that's what I want to know. I want to know what you guys think about the fact that we do have a high influx of individuals coming in. And here's another question. Do you believe that we're going to see even more unique or rare types of illnesses and diseases over the next coming, over the several next coming months or years because we have so many people coming in? Then there's another question that I have to ask, and I'm sorry to ask so many questions, but this is the only way that we can really, truly, and honestly have dialogue with one another is if we talk about it. Do you think that, and these things, oh, yes, they do have something to do with it. I was about to say it doesn't have anything to do with it, but there is a rumor about people coming from Venezuela that were quite ill, that were put away for a while. Now, I know that the prison system there is heinous. All of them are, but this one's supposed to be even more treacherous. Now you got all these people coming over. And as they're coming over from there, do you believe they're going to have even more rare illnesses because of the fact that they have such, they don't have necessarily the medical coverage or care that we do here? There's a lot of stories that I want us to get into, you guys. We're going to come back tomorrow at 2:00. I hope that's a good time for everybody. Let's see if we can meet here daily at 2:00 for the next 30 days. Okay. I say that because I get so much stuff going on, but I got to see you guys daily. And I think that 2:00 is a great time. I don't want to be, up when others are up, because I know a lot of people like to go to other areas and watch. And that's such a good thing to support all the channels. But having said that, I want to make sure that we're not up when others are up. So 2:00 tomorrow, what we're going to talk about tomorrow? Well, we've already got that charted out. Tomorrow, what we're looking at is the immigration and immigration. We got the immigration with the E and we got the immigration with the I. But we're looking at that, and we're looking at how a lot of the different states in the United States are having some issues. Some of the same states that were some of the people who were saying, give them support and help these folks, and they just need our help, and they just looking for a new place to stay, and they just want to help their children just like all of us do. A lot of folks are saying that. But here's the skinny. Some of them folks ain't saying that no more. Some of those folks look just like some of my relatives. And we're going to talk about it, because here's the thing. And I know a lot of people are not going to be happy with me saying this, but it's okay. We can all say this enough. We are Americans. This is our country. We should have a right to say, we don't want to have our tax dollars paying for people to come over here. We don't want to have our tax dollars doing this, and we don't want to have our tax dollars doing that. But we want to be able to say it to the point of fruition, to where when we say something, they understand where we're coming from, and then they knock it off. But that's not what's going on. So yes, 3 p.m. Eastern. That's absolutely right, Daryl. If that time is good, let me know. If everybody wants to, let me know. So it's 2:00 here Central, because you all know that I'm an Alabama girl. I'm a Southern gal. All right. So that's where I am. Does 2:00 work for everybody? Put a 1 in the chat. If 2 works, that's 2 Central. So whatever 2 for you in your area is 2 Central. I know if you're in California, that would be 12 p.m. If you're up top, in the East, or even Chicago, I believe that is, it's going to be, like you say, 3. I think it's going to be 3. You Southern? Okay. Good here. Good here. Please help Felicia's algorithm. Hit the tab. Oh, I just love you, Deborah Johnson. Thank you so much. And Marty. Hey, honey bunch, I sent you a text. I was checking on you. I sure was. Yep, Central Time. So it looks like that's what we'll do. Then you guys, tomorrow we'll see each other. And this is a challenge to myself. 30 days. 30 days. Do a live 30 days. See what happens. Okay? Rats attacking cats. Lord have mercy. If that's a story, Daryl, you need to send that to me. Rats attacking cats. So let me see if we had any. Let me see if we have any super chats that I don't want to ignore. If we didn't, we're just going to go ahead and get out of here. Let's see. Nope, doesn't look like we had any. All right. So what we're going to do is we'll see each other tomorrow. Again, we're going to talk about some of the states and the cities that are now complaining about having all these individuals in their backyard, when at first they were saying, help these people. They need help. Help them. They just want someplace to have, someplace to call home. And they're just trying to make life better for themselves and family. That's all it is. That may be true. But isn't there a way that they're supposed to do it? And tomorrow we're going to talk about that. So before we get out of here, I want to let you guys know that it's just what it always is. That you need to make sure you take care of yourself before you look around and take care of somebody else. Because if you're not okay, nobody else is going to be okay. So I want you to take care of yourself, then reach around and take care of someone else. And remember one thing, I want you to take care of my friend, because when I see you again, I want to make sure my friend is well. And my friend is you. Peace. To receive instant notification each time I upload, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification. Perspective.
baby.